We use English every day.
We read,
Even tell you where I'm
we write,
When do we ride to Jerusalem?
we talk.
When do we ride to Jerusalem? When do we ride to Jerusalem?
Billboards, street signs, newspapers, commercials. On a day-to-day basis, these are just a few products of the English language that we encounter.
To know why are you obsessed with fighting times and fates you can't defy? If you knew the path we're riding, you'd understand it less than
Sa tingin ko, I'm not yet that proficient.
May fluency in English language at out of 10, mga 5 lang siya, 5 out of 10 parang. Half lang.
Well, para sa akin, siguro if I'll rate my fluency in the English language, siguro I'd rate it mga 9 to 3. Siguro mga 8.
In English, I think I'm just
I had to rate my language proficiency or fluency from a scale from 1 to 10. I would say 8.
I would rate myself 7.
Parang I don't want to improve my language skills kasi parang dapat Filipino yung ginagamit natin eh. Kasi Pilipinas tayo. Dapat ginagamit natin yung sarili natin language.
Kasi parang it'd be very helpful if parang I'd want to express myself pa further. May words pa akong magamit na mas simple pala compared to sa mga pala kong gamitin. Ganun.
Of course, because it's really a big thing and a big part of life, like everyday life, and communicating with people or
If I were given a choice to improve my language skills, I would take it. Because any form of improvement is good.
Yes, of course. Because as a law student, it is necessary for us to be proficient in English. Why? Because English is the medium of instruction in the College of Law.
Siyempre, of course. Okay? Because it's an international language. Alright? So anywhere you go, you communicate in English. That's the international language.
So, I think that it's alright that we Filipinos are striving hard to learn the language because English is spoken by many nationalities all around the world. So, it will help us become more globally competitive.
Parang okay lang naman siya kasi in a way, tawag doon since English is the international language, edi mas makakapag-communicate pa tayo abroad. Parang it's not a matter of it's not a matter of if lumuluhod tayo sa kanila or it's a matter of parang communicating. Parang what's the use pa kung magaling ka nga, tas di mo naman siya na-share sa iba.
For me, the fact that the Filipinos are striving so hard to master our language does not actually mean that it's a bad thing or we are trying to forget our own heritage. It merely means that we are eager to learn or be accepted in the world.
Sa panahon ngayon, mas makaka-help siya eh. Parang not because we're using the language of another place, it's bowing down to them na. Buti sana kung English is parang one of the biggest used language. English is parang yung pinakamataas eh. So ang unfair kung sasabihin natin na nagpapakolonize lang tayo just because we're using English.
English will help us prosper dahil communication talaga is very important in order to connect people from all around the world.
If I we're behind the shadows of our colonizers, why not Spanish? Why English? So, it not necessarily the major factor that could help us prosper or develop. I could say that it would help us. It is a small factor that could make us globally competitive. Of course, how are you going to deal with businessmen using Tagalog? Of course, it would be easier for us to deal with business, to transact with other nations, with the foreigners, if we know how to speak English. Because, of course, we cannot learn German, for example. Diba? So, it would help us. And learning English doesn't mean that, or doesn't necessarily imply that we are just behind the shadow of our colonizer. Kasi if that's the case, then why not Spanish? Why English?
You know naman that it's not, I do not believe that it's because of colonial mentality, that we use English as a medium of instruction. But because it's an international language, it really helps a lot. Okay? So ikaw ba, pag nag-graduate ka, you don't know anything about English, how would you communicate with other people of other nations? Diba? Paano ka naman aangat? Paano ka naman makikipag-usap sa mga prime ministers, let's say for example, diba? Sa mga foreigners. Hindi naman lahat yan nakakaintindi ng Pilipino, diba? So, bakit ba tayo nagiging successful sa lahat ng bagay? Because of English language, dahil naiintindihan tayo at naiintindihan natin yung mga ibang tao sa ibang bansa. Diba? Although siguro, dito, sa Pilipinas, mas maganda yung Filipino ang ating means of communication. But in other nations, in other countries, and with with foreign people, mas maganda yung nagkakaintindihan din tayo through English language. Hanga nga ako kay Pinoy kasi si Pinoy pagdating dito sa Pilipinas, talagang Pilipino ang kanyang state of the nation. Diba? But he speaks fluent English. Para sa ibang bansa lang yon at sa mga foreigners na hindi nakakaintindi ng language natin.
So, overall, sa akin, it's alright siya.
For a while. Kasi kapag Filipino tayo, parang pwedeng made-develop yung country natin. Parang unity. Form yung unity. So parang pareho tayo, lahat tayo ginagamit natin Filipino. Parang a form of unity. Hindi yung parang English pa, may iba pa. Yeah.
Honestly, it is important that we know the English language. It is somehow an edge over other nationality or over any other citizen around the world if you know how to speak English language.
Any form of language that we as a culture or as a people can learn can greatly improve our stand on the world.
I have explained that earlier kasi talaga namang English is really, why would you think that English is a foe? English, that language is not an enemy because it helps us in so many ways. It helps us. Kasi pag hindi tayo naiintindihan at hindi natin sila naiintindihan, saan tayo lulugar? Di ba? Yung ibang nation, yung ibang worldwide nga yan international nga yan ayaw mo bang maging international? Ayaw mo bang yung matutunan yung international language para pwede kang makipag-usap at sa ibang bansa, sa ibang tao, sa French, for example. Bakit ang French? Bakit ang Japanese? Bakit ang Chinese? Meron naman silang sariling language, but bakit ba sila successful? Because they know how to communicate in English sa mga Amerikano, sa mga French, sa mga di ba? natin yung statement. Let's face it. Kaya nga tayo nakakapagtulungan eh. Kaya nga meron United Nation eh. Di ba? So, in that case, how would you consider English a foe? Hindi naman natin kalaban o kaaway ang English.
You'd understand it less than I.
Pilipinas, got talent. Pilipinas, got talent. Pilipinas, got talent. Pilipinas, got talent. Huwag kang susuko, bilang iyong pangarap. Sa Pilipinas, got talent, di mo na mahanap. Huwag kang susuko, huwag kang susuko, bilang iyong pangarap. Sa Pilipinas, got talent, di mo na mahanap. Mangarap ka sa roon ng pag-asa. Ang mga pangarap sa pagsulat ang tula at sa aming pagsisumika sa kulturang ganito ay tila nakatatak. Di ka magsusuko, luha man ay pumatak. Halina, sumama, halika tabutin. Huwag ka na makakalimot, lahat mararating. Mahirap man o mayama, ang kulin ng dugo. Di kami bibitaw ng kamagana sa puso. Hindi ko titigilan, hindi rin mapigilan ang pagsigaw ng tao dyan sa kaliwat sa kanan. Papamalag sa Pilipinas, sa aking talento, Santa Cruz, ang bayan, tubol lagunenyo. Huwag kang susuko,